Dave, thank you so much for joining me.
My
So,
pleasure.
I love your story. I know at the moment you are a general manager of a footwear company, but on the side, you have been writing books. And I guess I'm curious, when did you first realize that you wanted to write?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me. This is awesome.
No worries.
I'm quite privileged to be here. Look, years ago, I think when I was 6 or 7 or 8, it was probably 8, I met an author. So I was this little sports kid from Shepparton. So Shepparton's 2 hours north of Melbourne in the country, and I just played sport. I like girls and I played sport. That was my whole childhood upbringing. But I like words, and I'd created these stories, and I used to write, and probably not very good, to be honest. But I met an author. She came to our school, primary school. I think I was 8. What is that? Grade 3, maybe grade
Yeah,
3.
yeah.
And Mum took me down, and I met this author, which she came down, she stood on my level, and she spoke to me, and I got her book, and she signed it, and it was just this thing that became intoxicating, and where words take us and what we do. And I read as a kid forever. I ate books. I just loved them, and I just like how they made me feel. So I think when I was 8, I wanted to be like her. I wanted to be like Trevor Barker, who played for St Kilda, the Saints, and I
Yeah.
wanted to be like Christabel Mattingly, who was a kids author. So that was I was about 8, I think 8 years old. A long
Do
time
you,
ago now.
yeah. Oh gosh, it's awesome you remember it. Do you remember exactly what it was about her that you wanted to replicate or be like?
Well, there's one thing I do remember about her. So I knew what words did as an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
So I knew, before that, I used to sit on my grandmother's lap when I was 4 and 5, and my parents, and they would read to me. So, but when I was 8, I knew when I read and I understood the sentences, I knew how they made me feel. And Christabel Mattingly was just a calm, beautiful presence. I remember her being calm. I remember her giving me time. She came to my level and spoke to me. Now, at 8, not many adults, we're back in those days, our mums and dads are busy doing things, and it's a different time. And this person was beautifully balanced and lovely and gave me time. And she put these words on a page. I couldn't believe it. This is a real book. To write a book was like being the Prime Minister. I remember saying, someone asked me what did I want to be when I grew up, when I was a kid. I wanted to be the Prime Minister, because that's like, that was like the boss of Australia, right?
Yeah.
That's so silly. But this person created something that I took home with me with her signature, and she was just a beautiful, calm presence. I remember that, yeah. I can't remember much else.
No, that's okay. So it was all about that feeling. And so, how old were you when you wrote your first book?
Um, I'm I'm quite slow. So I've written 3.
Yes.
And I self-published a couple of them, and the one that we released a few weeks ago has been published by Wilkinson Publishing. My first book was, I was doing a radio show in the West. I lived in Mitcham
Yep.
in the east, for those who are listening. It's in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, like way in the east. And I worked for Nike at the time, so I was doing a portion of their business, and I thankfully got into contact with some awesome athletes and people that you normally wouldn't.
Yep.
I was at Puma for a long time as well, so athletics and athletes were my thing. And a gentleman by the name of John Forbes, he's passed away now. He's an idol of mine. A lot of people will know John Forbes, a quietly spoken man who knew everyone in the sports industry, got me to do this radio show. And what we did was it was called the Puma Sports Show, and we interviewed people. And then that sort of moved on a little bit, and I started running my own show, which was just about people who did really well. So I did the local butcher who had 3, he might have been from Croatia and had 3 butcher shops and was doing really well. But I coupled that up with a story or an interview on Buddy Franklin. So I had these great superstars and I mixed them in with community people. And because I think that the messages are the same,
Yeah.
just at different levels. So I was doing this radio show, and then I had kids, and going from Mitcham to, which was sunshine on the other side of the city, a little bit difficult with a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. So I decided to put stories together, and I'm trying to think when that was. I think it was in 2006, maybe 2005. And I fundamentally wrote a little book with a bunch of people in it. There was 14 stories in it. 14. The reason it was 14 was because a person could pick it up and read a book in 2 weeks. I always used to feel really proud about finishing a book. I'd close the book and I'd look at it, and there's a sense of pride. And I was doing some school talks at the time, and the teachers were saying to me, kids aren't reading anymore. It's really hard to get them to read. So I thought I'd do a really simplistic, almost first-person book with these great people, 14 of them. And if they read one subject a night, in 14 days they finished a book, and they might, who knows, feel proud about themselves. So I think my first book was probably 2006 or 7, I think. And we raised a little bit of money for street kids. I think we donated 25 grand to Open Family, which was really nice. It was great.
So within those little stories, did you have an objective of what you wanted any of those kids or any readers to feel or walk away with after they had read those stories?
Well, I did. The first thing was the message, particularly in doing school talks and most of the talks were kids between maybe 12 and 15. I wasn't great at school. I failed what is VCE, what was HSC years ago, and I had to go back and do it again, which is probably a small message in itself. But I think my message was, if anyone can put words on a page, you're an author. You're okay. It's almost like if you can write and you like writing and you want to write and you like what you write about, you're an author. I think we need to deconstruct these titles about people and what we do. There's an old saying where it's not a saying. It's a little story about, you've got a classroom of 6 and 7-year-olds, and the teacher will ask them, now who's an artist? And they'll all put their hands up. 30 kids in the classroom. You ask 25 to 50-year-olds who's an artist, and no one will put their hand up. Do we lose confidence? Do we stop doing it? I'm not too sure. But the very first thing about this was to say to kids, if I can do it, you can. If you like what you write about. And that's all I did. It was almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. I was energised by who I interviewed, and I simply wanted to tell their story. So, the footballer who was rejected and finally got into an AFL list, the author that was rejected and finally got into a publisher. That persistence pays dividends, and not giving up sometimes a great thing, and the journey is just as good as the destination, I think. So multiple messages. But very first one was, hey, if I can do it, anyone can, really. Which
is, you're living the stories you're sharing. How did you keep going with this? Obviously it sounds like writing is such a true intrinsic passion for you. How did you keep that motivation up when there was no external validation or anything? You just had to, keep going. And what was that? What was that like?
It's hard. It's very difficult. I'm actually not that good at writing. I'm not. I remember when I failed HSC years ago, I got 54% in English. So yeah. I'm no literary genius. But what I am passionate about is people. I'm passionate about why you're doing this podcast. I was talking to a mutual friend of ours in the last 24 hours about why you're doing it, so I'm more fascinated. I know you're interviewing me, but I'd like to interview you. It's actually a fascinating thing why people do things. And they're pure examples. So we have highs and lows, don't we? We're all great one day, and the next day we're not. And it's going for a run's difficult sometimes, and things are hard. They're always hard, but I tend to use the subjects as my motivation, and it works for me. Particularly the last book, there was one individual, inevitably two, and we can probably talk about that later, but one individual that I interviewed 14 years ago, and the book's a little bit different. We'll probably talk to that. Yeah. He was a gentleman that, he was a boxer. I was highly motivated to finish for this individual.
Right.
So I tend to hang on to things like that get me there. Hey, what is it? What have my family, my kids, that type of stuff. So, but I tend to be passionate about people's stories. I'm busting to hear about you. I really want to know about you, which I find really fascinating.
Yeah, right. We have such parallels. I'm listening to you and that drive and that motivation and desire to kind of, fulfill something in you. And I'm like, yep, I can relate. I hear that. And it's something for me that's kind of always been there, niggling along the way, and I dabble into it and I dip my toe into it, and then something else gets in the way and I get distracted, and now I've just gone, life's too short. And sometimes it takes a crisis, and for me it was losing my mum, and then I went, you know what, I have to do this. I have to be more aligned. I have to fulfill that creative part of me. And so here I am. And it just, when you do
That's
things,
very cool.
yeah, well, I think you'll probably relate to this, that when you are on the right path, doors just open. And I feel like I keep getting validation that this is where I'm meant to be. So, I keep following
I
it.
love that. I think it's interesting. Doors do open.
Yeah.
And I think we can choose to, and I think there's someone guiding me somewhere. I think it's my granddad. I choose to think it's my granddad. But doors will open and maybe we don't hear them or see them. Lately for me, I've seen them. I don't know why.
Right.
And I'm really sorry to hear about your mum. But I think, we talked about, before we came on, we talked about silver linings. And our mutual friend talked a little bit about your passion, and there's a connection. So you can obviously see your passion, which is lovely. And the fact you're fulfilling it is tremendous. And it's actually, you're inspiring. So this is so already you're filling my cup, which inevitably it enables me to write. So the person I'm interviewing fills my cup. I get energized. I feel like, and strangely enough, I get quite attached to people. Inevitably, most people, and I keep looking this way because I've got books sitting here, but
okay. Yeah.
Most people get emotional and cry with me. I make people cry, which is quite strange, but not at the same time, because they're sharing, and they may be sharing things that they don't share with anyone else. So I get quite attached to the fact that I need to then fulfill an obligation because this person shared their life with me.
Yeah.
I feel like it's an obligation. So multiple levels for me, I think, and it sounds like for you.
Oh, it's so special, isn't it? To have that, like, it's an honour for me to be able to share people's stories. So I love it. And obviously we share that as well.
We should come back at the end. I'm going to interview you at the end of this, I think.
All right, cool. Now, this last book, though, Dave, I'm so curious. It took you 14 years. And I'm why did it take you so long?
Well, I'm slow. That's one. It's a slow. Look, I did the first story. I didn't know. I wrote 8 stories, before that, and it's a bit of a mix. This book. It's a bit metaphorical, and it's a little bit, it is directly about a race. But there's 8 stories. I kept meeting people that had great yarns to tell. We have another mutual friend who's Indigenous, and she's got a magic story, and she tells a great story about our history, and she has taught me a lot. I just meet people, and I think well, I'm just going to interview you and write it down, and we'll see where it goes, in the hope that it will go somewhere. And inevitably, whilst it's a little bit left of centre, this last book, it's happened, and it's happened in the way it should happen, and it's almost like 14 years was concertinaed into really 3 months. I had lots of time with the others. And look, I had mortgages and work, and I went overseas. I had a marriage breakup, and I went overseas and worked for a little bit. And it just, things get in the way, don't they? But the interest was always there. And then pre-Christmas, the door opened. We talked about doors, and I decided to walk through it. And I had a challenge that, since the publishers told me he didn't think we could do, he didn't think it was going to happen. And it did, which is really nice. So it's been lovely.
Have you had to make any compromises in your life, or had any trade-offs so that you could keep writing?
It's hard. It's a disciplined, hard. It's time without away from family, and I'm sure my ex-wife, who I'm still on great terms with, would suggest there was a lot of compromises. But, I didn't do the dishes as much as I probably should have. There's lots of things. But, the thing that I like about this is my kids are really well connected with what I'm trying to do. And I would have worried if that wasn't there. So, family's always a piece that goes to the side. I think, as much as we try our best and try hardest to not let it happen, it probably has a little bit. And inevitably for me, I have to try hard and concentrate really well to make it happen.
Yeah.
As I said before, I'm not any genius. I can stitch words together, but I've got to try a bit. It's just, I've got to work at it, and that takes time.
Yeah, absolutely. have had the privilege of reading your book, which I have here.
Oh, wow.
Now, I love that all the stories in this are about behind the spotlight. They're not about necessarily the successes, although all of these people have had success in their own rights, but in different areas. And you say that that's where the real story happens. I'd love to know how you identify with that. What's the real story behind you?
Well, that's an interesting question. Look, I'm a would-be AFL player. I was drafted to Sydney years ago. So I think I mentioned before that I was from the country in Shepparton, and in my teenage years there was sport and girls. They were the things, and not to suggest I was good at either of those things, but footy tended to be the thing that I liked, and I was okay at it. So I spoke to different league clubs, went to university in Bendigo, and got drafted from Bendigo, and I didn't make it. So I went to Sydney, and that was probably my HSC/VCE year was football. I didn't study as much as I should have, all those type of things. But I didn't make it. And, I still reflect back now and have regrets and think why and how, and maybe in some ways I'm chasing rainbows there, and another way I'm not too sure. But, it's just one of those things where, trying to understand what happens off the field, because off the field's where the music's made, off the field's where the training's done, off the field's where the discussions are happening, off the field is where you cry, off the field everything happens to build this thing that we see, particularly in football, on 2 or 3 hours on what was Saturday afternoon. It's now every day, almost every day. So I just feel that that's where the special stuff occurs. I was really lucky. I did a couple of documentaries, and one I followed a boxer. I'm a bit of a boxing fan.
Yeah.
And I remember watching Anthony Mundine fight one night, and I was fortunate enough to be in his rooms, and the machinations and stuff's a really good word, stuff's a great word, of what happens before he fought. He went out and he knocked this guy out in a few rounds, came back in. So the 3 hours in the rooms beforehand was bigger and more comprehensive than his actual fight. I just thought that was fascinating. The backslappers, the people, the psychology, the singing. He had a group of people singing. It was just, I find it fascinating, and how people build themselves up to perform. I just think that's where great magic is.
Oh, I think we win off the field. We see these tiny moments of the accolades and the winning moment or whatever, but that happens with the practice, the reps, the hard work outside. And the blood, sweat and tears, like you said. That's the emotional journey as well. That's where the growth happens. So,
I agree, totally agree with you. It's in the book. There's a story on Max Bailey. Yep. Max is a premiership player with Hawthorn. He's had 3 knee reconstructions. So we followed him with a camera for a little bit. So he spent more time fundamentally outside, not playing, and in the injury room doing rehab and all that than he did playing. Yeah. But he's got people have the glossy knowledge of him being a premiership player. They see the tip of the iceberg, but underneath Max Bailey, there's this enormous thing of work, toil, hardship, loss, lost games, lost years. He spent years in the injury room. Yeah. So, that's where, in my view, the making of Max Bailey occurred, was not on getting his premiership cup or on the oval, it's in the injury room.
Absolutely. And that tenacity and the grit to be able to keep showing up and get to that final stage.
Yes. And the tenacity and grit isn't loud.
No.
It's interesting. Tenacity and grit can be just quietly spoken, and because Max is a really good example of that. It's not bombastic and loud and rah-rah. It's just doing the same thing every day. It's being disciplined and structured and working and working and working.
I feel like that sums you up too, Dave, because I hear Brad always talks about how you are so humble, and I know that just from my experiences with you, but I know so much work goes into what you do, and I mean, working this full-time job and then writing 3 books, and not only that, coordinating charities where you donate all the proceeds for your books. Like, there's a lot of work that goes underneath everything you do.
There is, but there is with everybody, I think. I think we're all doing our thing, isn't there? There is with what you're doing now.
Yeah.
So to set the software up, to set your podcast up, to get the interviews, and I have heard, I think you interviewed Sam Mitchell.
Yeah.
So you've had some fantastic, so I'm quite touched that I'm here, by the way. So you've had some great people on your podcast, and it takes a lot of work and questioning and learning about questioning. And we just do it. You do it because you're passionate about it, and it's obvious. You've got a great energy. Maybe that's the same as me. I'm just energised by it. There are flat days too, Jules. There are days where and I said to Brad, and we talked about this last night, and because I really put half a book into 3 months or 2 months, and I think I cooked myself about 2 months ago. So I was going to bed at midnight and then getting up at 4. So I was doing 3 or 4 hours at night and then trying to do 3 hours in the morning. And I wasn't writing fit.
Yeah.
I hadn't written in a while. I had this door I had to walk through. We talk about doors.
Yeah.
And I decided to do it, and I hadn't written in 2 years maybe. So I wasn't great. I was unfit, and I did it, and I was in a bad space. I was tired. I was foggy, but we do it. And, yeah, we do it. So here we are.
And that's something
I'm fortunate enough. Well, I think it is, and look, I'm a single guy now, so I have time. My kids are a bit older, so I'm okay to do that.
Any desire to write full time to actually make that a career, or it just works for you the way it is now?
Look, I'd love to. Yeah, I want to write a New York Times bestseller, Jules.
Yeah,
wouldn't that be cool?
Okay.
Look, I have these grandiose dreams. I actually can't believe that came out of my mouth, by the way, because usually the dreams are hidden well down. But no, I do. With
awesome.
the publishers, we're talking about another project, and he's talking about, hey, can you get this X project done in X amount of time? And I'm sort of scratching my head. I have to work. I have to earn money. So if there's a way we could work it out, I'd love to do that. I'd love to just. I have this little dream. I saw it in the US once. I travel a bit with work, and there was a van that went around. It was in New York. It was a van that goes around and just interviewed people off the street. So people off the street would go into this van, probably set up like you are in your room, and this guy would interview them. So he had hundreds of these documentations, and I'm not sure what he was going to do with it. I didn't get a chance to say g'day. I waited around to talk to him, but he was interviewing people. That's the sort of stuff I love. And there's another guy from... He was an American. He did radio. His name was John DeRemus. You ever heard of John DeRemus?
Vaguely.
He did these short stories about famous American people, and I remember growing up and you hear they went for 3 or 4 minutes on the radio. Well, John DeRemus did a body of work about people 50 years ago, 40 years ago, and they're all taped, and you can get them on. You can hear some of them on when you Google.
Yep.
But it's if I could pull apart stories and tell them, and in some ways honouring them and helping people learn, I think that'd be my full time. I'd love that. I'd love to do that.
So what's stopping you?
Thanks, Jules. Thanks. No, you are right. Everything. It's like I've got a really great job. So I'm really fortunate that I run a global footwear business. I'm fortunate. I'm lucky. The romance of writing, and you hear about a lot of poor writers. And that's great. You chase your dreams, and I'm all for that. I am, but it's balancing it up. So I've got to work through what that is and how that works. Yeah.
So I'm happy to play with this. Could it look like maybe part time, so you could allow for more time?
I'd like to. Yes, I'm just not sure. As I sit here, the first door opened a little bit. I think in the last call it 4 months. Yeah. We didn't think we'd get that race done, and we did. And the publisher said he didn't think it, but maybe we've proven a point as a team, me and him, his publishing company. We're talking about different things now, so maybe part-time's a way to go. Yeah, maybe.
Is there fear? Are you scared as well of what?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Petrified.
Yeah.
I'm petrified of everything I do.
Yeah.
I was
so
petrified
vulnerable.
of. Well, it is, and as a I'm going to say mid-50s guy. Where I came from an era, particularly country, it's stiff upper lip. You aren't vulnerable. Men are not great at this stuff. Men my age aren't great at this stuff. So and this is the thing I work on with my kids, and they came up to store. We had the launch at stall at Easter, which was great.
Loved it.
But it was great because people helped. It wasn't great because I was all over the shop. It was a great collaboration from lots of people. But vulnerability is a real thing, and I'm trying my best to be vulnerable to my kids. I ask for help, and we have this really great relationship, I think, because of it. So, I was petrified the other day. I enjoy interviewing people, but I haven't interviewed people in front of 200 people for a long time.
You're amazing.
Interviewing Kathy, it was almost like I went from nothing for years to interviewing Australia's best athlete in front of 200 people in a room is bizarre. So petrified all the time. I'm petrified now, and I've got a copy of the book here.
Yeah.
I spoke to the publisher today. How's it going? What are the numbers? He's got somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 books going to bookstores in May. What does that mean? Like, what if it doesn't work? If it doesn't work, Jules, you'll be getting birthday and Christmas presents. You know what you'll be getting for the next 20 years.
Yeah. It is, I get it. It is really confronting. And anything you do that's creative, anything that you put your heart and soul into, because you feel like you're being judged. So I get that. I guess a question pardon me, a question I ask myself, and I'll ask it of you, is what advice would you give to your kids?
Yeah, you've got some tricky questions here. What I will say before I answer that is what you're doing is really, really vulnerable. So I learned a little bit about what you're doing from our mutual friend last night. So, you know, you're chasing what you love. And you're on a screen. It's your body of work that's going into the ether. So people and we're up for criticism, aren't we?
Yeah, all the time.
I think that's the thing, and that's a worrying thing sometimes, and it takes a bit to get used to that, I think. So I think what you're doing is awesome. I was going to say, just on that, Dave, when I first started on this, and a little bit of sharing on my part, when I first realised that I'm going to have to go on screen, because I've been pretty private, I'm not a huge social media person, I actually cried. And I stood there in front of my son and my husband, and I was crying, and I said, I don't know if I can do it. I know that I have to, but I'm so scared, and I feel so vulnerable to do this. But my whole new mantra was part of this. I have to be brave, and I have to, just kind of face the fear. And so I still go, take a deep breath and then kind of go ahead. And I'm impressed. Super impressed, and you're good at it.
Thank you.
You're good at it. This is a good yarn.
We get better the more we practice, don't we? So
we do.
I completely understand that fear that you might have. But I guess I hope, and this is that advice I think about my kids, I hope that I can show my kids that, I gave up full-time teaching. And the first thing my daughter said to me when I said, this is what I'm going to do, she's like, so we're going to be broke.
I love that.
I was like, well, hopefully not, but may not return anything for a little bit, or whatever. It's not why I'm doing it.
That's fantastic.
So I'm hoping that I show them that there is things that are more important as well, and fulfillment and joy. Is so important in life. You do have to eat. That's definitely that's a thing.
Important. That is a thing. And lately, since stall finished, I've eaten too much. But I think that's really good advice to your kids. I think that's great advice. I think having a go, and I think for me, it's just having a go. Chase your dreams and have a go.
Yes.
Don't be scared, which is the same fundamentally. I say this to my kids, and I've said it to you, I can stitch words together, but I'm not great at it. I'm not a literary genius, but we've managed to cobble together a couple of books. How that happened is anyone's guess, but I think just have a crack and see where it goes. So that'd be my advice to kids. Chase your dreams, have a go. I think probably 10 years ago, 15 maybe, that's when the book piece slowed down. I got caught up in the corporate thing.
Yeah.
Mortgages, young kids, we do. We have to pay bills. And I don't regret it, but probably would have liked to have met this publisher 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's not going to be great and exciting and everything, but if I had have been, or if I had have met our other mutual friend, our Indigenous friend who's in the book, and I can say her name. I can say her name, can't I? I can.
Belinda,
Belinda Duarte, who's in the book. If I had met her a long time ago, she would have taught me a lot of lessons as well. So, I think things happen in the time they're supposed to, but I often wonder. But I just say to my kids, have a crack. Just go. It doesn't, see what happens. Yeah.
And
what
have
can
a
happen?
Crack. So if you were to define right now, you've said that you'd love to be a New York bestseller. And I know you've also, you're involved in a documentary at the moment to do with the race as well. It's clearly you've got this very creative streak to you. Would that be an ideal life if you were living that, like author, doco, whatever?
Yes, yes. I hope my employers don't see this.
No, no, that's not to say you don't love what you do. Like I'm with you, but
Yeah,
I think so many of us have these passions that are within us that we can, and like I love that you're doing something at least on the side. Do you know what I mean? Like you're
yeah.
fulfilling that part of you in some way. It doesn't have to be all because that's not practical. I get that. But I guess I'm just saying if we were to entertain what a dream life looked like.
I think you're right. It would be, yes. I just like stories. I like sitting talking to
Yeah.
people. And I actually like, I don't like writing controversial stories. I like people reading their story and feeling good. And if people are emotionally changed, if it emotionally challenges them, whether it makes them happy or sad or confronted or they learnt more, I'm really happy. I'm happy with that. So I think you are right. And it's a good message and I'm hearing you. So even though this is a podcast and you're supposed to be interviewing, you're challenging me with some of your suggestions, which is great. And I will walk away thinking about this for a while. And you are right. I had another friend of mine who was a captain of a VFL club. When I finished at Sydney, I went and played VFL for a bit. And he's a great mate. And he says the same thing. So we had dinner last week.
Yeah.
He's a teacher. He's a teacher and works. He's an Eastern Suburbs champion of the game. Every person in the Eastern Suburbs knows this guy. And so we don't catch up that often. But he says the same thing. He said, when you talk about the stories and people, you light up. There's something in that. I know there is. Now, so I saw him last week. I'm talking to you. This is almost like we're over having a coffee anyway. So talking to you about it. So there's a message. And
Yeah.
maybe I've got to practice what I preach. I don't know. Not sure.
And again, it might be just everything happens at the right time.
Maybe.
And it's funny. Another parallel though is that that having an impact on people emotionally is like, oh my gosh, it is so enticing. I always imagine making these little short clips, little video clips I've seen, human emotions, human interactions, and that people will watch them and be inspired or moved somehow. And I think it's why I love going to the movies because you walk out and you've had some emotional change, like you feel touched by them. And
I love that.
yeah. And the same with
But that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you cry in movies? Do you cry in
all the
movies?
time. I cry in an ad. I cry in,
I love that.
But it's oh my God, it's amazing though, isn't it? Like
It is. I think empathy is, for me, it's my superpower, but it's my kryptonite.
Yeah.
I have this funny thing, and I talk to Belinda about this all the time, is because she has a unique ability to cry and talk. I cry and make burbling, gurgling sounds. I can't talk. So I try. It's very difficult for me to control my emotions and talk. It was the other night. I got quite emotional about something the other night at the launch, and I struggled to talk. I was actually surprised myself. I managed to get words out, which was great. But I think emotion's great. But I've still, being a mid-50s guy, I still deal with, the old male toxic, stiff upper lip stuff, and I still deal with that. But I am an emotional guy, and my kids know that, and they see me cry all the time. Not all the time, but sometimes. But I still have deep down this hey, I've got to be better than that. I've got to be strong because that's how I grew up. So, and a lot of males deal with that. We all, particularly my era and friends around me, we deal with that.
Yeah. Do you think it's that empathy and that connection you have, did that influence the people you chose to include in your book?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. There's an energy exchange, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like this. There's a great energy with you. I felt it a couple of weeks ago when we first met. And for those listening on the podcast, we met at the launch. So Jules and I met at the launch, which was lovely of her to come up to stall and see it and help. By the way,
It was awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, I did very little.
we needed everyone to help.
You had it well under control. Just saying.
I didn't. Oh my God, I didn't. Look, emotion is an awesome thing. I find controlling it difficult. That's all. That's my piece. And but it is to actually be with someone and feel energy like I'm feeling from you, this is a really nice discussion from Belinda, from the other people in the book. I met people that didn't get in the book.
Yeah, of
I
course.
just didn't feel it. They have a great story. Like there's a couple that didn't get in, which are unbelievable, but it just didn't work for me.
Okay.
So I think maybe I'm my own filter. I don't know. Not sure. Maybe.
Why didn't
maybe I
they
can't
work?
write.
Also, what?
I just the story was great. There's two I'm thinking of. The story was great, but it just didn't. Maybe I didn't connect with them like I normally do. Maybe it was a timing thing. Maybe we were both in the wrong space. I don't know. Not sure. But something didn't work. It's not to say I can't go back again.
Yeah.
Because one of them is a triple premiership player and a beautiful bloke.
Yeah.
Just didn't work at that time. So I might revisit it. We'll see. Yeah.
You got some more books in you, do you think?
I hope so. I think this, I've surprised myself, to be honest. This, as much as this book is different, there's, it's called That Race, and it's about a race and 7 women, which I love the fact it's a celebration of 7 great women, not just Kathy. Yeah. But there's a bunch of other stories in there. So it's as I said before, it's metaphorical in addition to the fact it's an analysis of a race. So, it's a bit, it's a different book. So it's almost been cobbled together a little bit, but I think it's okay. I think it's not.
It's fantastic.
It's a bit like, it's not perfect. It's imperfect. So am I. It's just what it is.
Absolutely.
It's almost like the 200 odd people we had in that room. Stall, country footy ground, earthy people coming together in a sport that's about everybody. Everyone can take part in professional running if they work hard. Everybody, irrespective of talent. That's me. It's a community thing. So this book is really about community, and there's lots of different avenues and lots of different things to look at and absorb.
There is, but I mean, the thread is there. The thread is the stories behind the story, sort of thing.
Yes.
And it's really rich and it's so insightful. So the thread is there. And,
wow.
It's lovely. How did you choose the charities that you wanted to donate proceeds? And I'll just clarify, so far 3 books and 3 different all proceeds from each book have gone to a different charity. Yes,
correct. So I don't know, I think when I did the first book was called Everyday Heroes. It was more, I just had an affinity with, I couldn't believe that kids were living on the street, 12-year-old kids were living under a bridge.
Yeah.
And I may have met someone and spoke to them and they just brought this issue to light for me, and the light went on. So I just chose. I called them and said, would you like us to raise money? They helped, the first charity. The second one was interesting. I set up an actual charity, which was like, I learned a lot about charities, and it was the 4 Words Foundation. So the second one was so the foreword to your life was to get positive mentors into schools and get them to speak to them. So, we raised some money, and I got the charity up, and it's heavily laden with red tape. I mean, I learned a lot. I'm not a red tape guy. I'm, in a lot of ways, that creative that sort of flies up here with the ideas, but really need great support. That the detail-oriented people that get stuff done. And I'd certainly need that. So we did that. We got the Nike CEO and some AFL players in the schools, and we did that. But inevitably, we had to disband it. And I took all the money out and donated that to victims of domestic violence, a female refuge, which was about 65 grand. And this one it's basically a charity that's aligned with Kathy.
Yeah.
So I've learnt a lot about, it's an Indigenous charity. It's a Julia Foundation, Tracy Westerman, who's got a great story. It's just, I've learned a lot about our Indigenous history, First Peoples. I've got a reasonable appreciation for the fact that we've got the oldest culture in the world, 60,000 years, and I don't think we celebrate it like we should, Jules. I think we could be, as a community, a lot better at celebrating this terrific race of people that we have. So there's a connection. There's Kathy. I learned a bit through Kathy. So I decided it's all author proceeds. Yeah. So the publisher, I'm still convincing him to donate some money. That'll be a slow process, I think, but I think he will. He's a great guy. But all my proceeds go to the Julia Foundation, yes.
That's incredible. Now, of these amazing people that you interviewed, there were some inspiring stories. Were there any that really, just had a great impact on you?
You could say all of them, right? Yeah. But they all, to a certain degree, do. William Hadlow is the guy I interviewed 14 years ago. So I was doing the documentary on the boxer, and Will had a record of, I can't quite remember, I think it was 7 wins and 25 losses, which is not great in the boxing world. And boxing world, it hurts.
Yeah.
So it's a hurt sport. So I just wanted to know originally why Will fought. Why?
Yeah.
So I got introduced to him, and he's a ripping bloke. He's a great guy, and so someone gave me his number. I got multiple people ended up getting in touch with him. I called him on the phone. He lived up in Queensland, and I just met up with him, and we filmed him, strangely enough. But his story was not about boxing. His story was about survival. He went through the foster homes in Queensland, and he had some great tragedy with his family. And he tells this great story. Can I tell this story a little bit?
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
He has he's got pictures on him, tattoos, which makes you very tough. When you got tattoos, makes you very tough. He has roses on his face. He's got a big rose the size of a dinner plate under on his neck. He's on his hands, and he says to me, I guess we're talking in the middle of the conversation. He said, I guess you want to know what the roses are about. And I did. I said, I do. And he said, do you know much about horticulture? And I said, not really. He said, well, roses, I've got to use one little swear word.
That's fine.
Can I do that? It's not a big one, it's a little one. He said, roses need a lot of fertiliser. And I'm looking at him, so I'm trying to think, where's this going? He said, I've come from shit and I want to be a rose. So it was the most articulate thing I'd ever heard. It was beautiful. So Will Hadlow, I've learned a lot about Will. Great guy. And he's got a master's he did his nursing degree. I think he's got a master's in nursing now. He's brilliant. He's great. We keep in touch, which is lovely. But I learned a lot about all of them. Belinda Duarte really taught me about First Peoples and our Indigenous history, which is lovely. And I met a group of 70 and 80-year-old women who were at the Munich Olympics. I learned about life in the 70s and 80s being an athlete and how terrorism has affected them. So I walk away with these great messages. And another one was the pro runners, the couple of pro runners, which is Goldie Heath, who won the 1933 Store Gift, trained the 1946 Store Gift winner in an island in Nagambie Lake. So I don't know, they're all pretty special to me, but boiling it down, I probably think Will Hadlow was the one, because he was the anchor that got the project done, I think.
Yeah, right. And they're all leaving some sort of legacy, which makes you wonder, what legacy would you like to leave?
Oh, you're good at this, Jules, aren't you? I don't know. Wow. I don't know. I think it's just when anyone remembers me, maybe, or my kids remember me, Dad had a go. I think that's it. I just want to have a go, and I like celebrating people. So I think maybe that's it. But maybe I've got to come back. Maybe I can send you an email or something, and you can mention it in another podcast or something. But
it's evolving.
It's a good question. It's a great question, because I think we do. I think you're leaving a legacy with what you're doing. I think when we're conscious of what we do and we reflect, that's what you're doing. So you've reflected on your life and you go, hey, I'd like to do this. I've done the same thing. I've reflected, I'd like to bring these stories to life in the way that I am, similar to you.
Yeah.
I think that's a question perhaps we ask ourselves when we become reflective and conscious of what we want to do, maybe. So I haven't really thought of that in the busyness of bringing kids up and paying for mortgages and working. It's not a question I ask myself, but probably is now, I think. I think it is. It's a great question.
Oh, look, I'm with you. It's evolving, isn't it? Also, we do what we do. We're in the moment, and hopefully we're having an impact in some ways.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I don't have the answer to that yet. And I think because I keep reflecting and adjusting, and you know what I mean, like making sort of edits along the way, I think, to try and improve. So
yeah, but I think that's a good person, Jules. You're a good person. I think that's a good person to reflect and look at our behaviour and where we need to be better. I think that's a great person, but that's the evolving piece, isn't it?
We try, don't we? So
we do. We definitely do.
Yeah. Now, also, I wanted to ask, you've made a documentary, or you're associated around the race, aren't you? What's your association with that? Are you helping to, I know research, but are you also producing or something as well?
I am producing. So
Yeah.
we've done in line with the book.
Yeah.
We've done a documentary called That Race. Strangely enough,
Yeah.
it's not connected to the book, but so the Victorian Athletic League supported a young fellow by the name of Didier Lemieux, who's an up and coming documentary maker. He's done a fantastic job. I produced the piece. I interviewed people.
Yeah,
So
nice.
he was, Didier's this awesome young fellow who's got an up and coming business, and he did all the technical piece and set the structure up. I just came in and interviewed. So we had a day where I interviewed Kathy and the other 6 women. We interviewed her coach, and we've interviewed journalists and all that type of thing. So that had a conversation today about where that goes now.
Yeah.
So we're talking about that and where we place it. I've got to catch up with Kathy on Thursday to sort of keep her abreast of what's going on. So that was interesting. That's sort of similar to the book in some ways, but different in the sense that you're on camera. Inevitably, I think the best documentaries, you don't hear the person ask the question, it just evolves, which is the way this has been done.
Yep.
But I tell you, when it comes out, I'd love to share it with you. I'll send it through.
I loved the sneak peek we saw at the book
Yep.
launch. Like, I was like, oh, that looks fantastic. And that race is just phenomenal.
Isn't it?
What we saw up at stall with Shikari, I want to get her name right.
Yep.
I mean, that was almost as impressive, her stall
was.
gift run, wasn't it? Like, that was...
It was.
But,
There's both of them, as Kathy Freeman and Shikari, are superstars.
yeah.
There's daylight.
Oh.
And arguably, Kathy's run in the 400 was as good as... it's arguably the best run ever at stall.
Yeah.
It's in her mind, and she's changed her mind a little bit here, but in her mind, it's in her top 2 races ever.
Yep.
I mean, in what world does a 400 metre runner get hit? Like, she get hit.
I
She got
know, elbow.
And it's interesting. Jackie Chahady, who was then Jackie Lewis, was the person that gave her the elbow. And unfortunately, a lot of social media pops up around stall, and there's a lot of comments. And poor old Jackie cops it.
Yeah.
It is probably normal, but pro running behaviour, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I was with them when they met. They haven't seen each other for 30 years.
Was there any animosity?
None. They were beautiful and laughing. And there is a piece in the film where we sit them all together and we show them, they watch the race together. And it's just wonderful. They laugh, they cry. There was some crying, but they're all hugging. It's just a beautiful thing. So inevitably, this is a great race, and it's a celebration of probably in the top 5 athletes Australia's ever produced.
Amazing.
But it's a celebration of a community race. It's a celebration of another 6 women and in the book we sort of uncover to a small degree their life and what they do and their feelings and their thoughts. It's a celebration of really what's a community event, which became really important to Australian history. The Stall Gift was once as important as the Melbourne Cup. It's as culture evolves and sports have become big, AFL's big and soccer's big, and this little niche sport probably hasn't kept pace. I'm sure everyone would agree, but it holds cultural and historical significance. And Kathy's 30-year anniversary of her winning is a really nice celebration of that. It's a nice celebration of a sport that came from the goldfields. Your forefathers and maybe mine probably raced each other, in the 1800s in the goldfield, and they got cash, pigs, and gold as prizes. So I love that connection as well. Really love that connection.
Absolutely.
And I think too, Kathy loves the fact that, because a lot of professional running events are, in country towns. And they're country people. She loves that. She's a country person. And it connects to me too. I'm a country guy. So it's just a nice synergy, I think.
That kindred spirit and that energy.
Yeah, I think
well.
that's it. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I wonder last question for you. Well, actually,
That's
second
okay.
one.
This was great.
I'm wondering what is going to be the topic of your next book. Have you thought that far yet? You must have some idea.
I have, yes.
Yep.
We
Can you share?
this is talking to the publisher. I think it is potentially about more connections to that book, strangely enough.
Wow,
There's a bit of work
awesome.
to do.
So the race,
And
that race.
yes,
Yeah,
there could be an
nice.
extension on that.
Yeah.
If we had more time, what would we like to do? So
Yeah.
there's other versions of that. We've actually spoken about making this a little bit of a series.
Awesome.
So I don't know how that looks, but the conversation's certainly there. So I promise when we decide what we're going to do, you'll be the first to know. I
I
promise.
would love to. Yeah. Come
But,
back on and talk to us about it. That'd be fantastic.
there will definitely be something else, though, definitely, because I think I enjoyed the process, and I've got a really great publisher who can adhere and is happy to listen to my silliness and my crazy ideas, I think.
It
Because
sounds like, yeah.
he's just as creative and crazy too, I think.
I was going to say, it sounds like your publisher is exactly the right person you need right now. It sounds like they're right in your corner and fully supportive of everything you do. That's amazing.
He is. But it's interestingly enough, though, we argue over things. We argued over the
Good.
what was on the back cover, what was on the front cover, and I won a couple, but not all. He won most of them because he knows books. He knows books and knows how to sell books. So I've got to acknowledge the fact that, hey, this is a new thing for me. And just because it's a pretty cover doesn't mean it's going to sell. So there's a commercial reality that I've had to learn, and he's certainly taught me that. And look, I'd love to. It's Wilkinson Publishing. If people are listening, just Google them.
Yeah.
He put my author bio up maybe 4 weeks ago. I actually got emotional. Like, this was a thing. I've never, like, it's, when you have something. I recall my sister crying, and there's a picture of me, and there's some words. And it's in the author section, like a real live author. I said, hey, oh my God. It's like, I don't know. It's the little things, Jules, isn't it? It's the little things.
It is. You are a real live author. You've done 3 books now.
It's amazing. Thank you.
I know. And
Thanks.
it's such a cool thing to change your perspective of yourself and to actually see yourself in a different identity. And I think you need to embrace it. You are an author. You have written 3 books. I'm
trying to. I'm definitely coming on board. I'm on board. And I think you've challenged me in this conversation too. I think that what's the next period look like? Why not? I think that's why not me? I don't know.
Yeah. Look, I'm
Anyway,
asking
we'll
you
see.
questions that I ask myself all the time. Like, why not? Why can't I?
I think they're good questions. I think what you're doing is awesome. And you know what? It's going to work. This will work. Just remember the little guys when you're the number one podcast in 2 years' time, and everyone's talking about you, and you're on free to air, and please remember the little guys.
Well, hopefully it translates to good book sales as well. Then
That's what we need. Thank you. We can work together. There's something here.
That's exactly right. This is my very last question for you. Is there anything that we haven't covered that I haven't asked that you would love to share?
Look, there's lots of things. I think what I'd like to leave on is that I'm not great at stuff, and I'm not. But there's only one. I bounce. That's the only. If it doesn't work for you, just try again. Yeah. If it doesn't work, it's not. It doesn't mean because it hasn't worked, it's not the end. So I think with and I do get quite emotional about this. I don't really know how this door opened and this happened.
Yeah.
But it has, and I'm really proud of the people that came around me to help. My family and some great friends, have made this happen. And I just, the message would be to just hang 10. Just if you believe in it, do it. Just bounce. Find another way around the brick wall. You don't have to go through it. Go over it, under it, around it. Loop in good people. Talk to people. Learn from people. Find somewhere to light your fire. I think that's the thing too. We've got to find, I think all of us have to find someone or something that motivates us, because there are low spots. It's not all glowy. It's not glowing, I should say. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably the last thing I'd say. Just keep at it. Just keep at it.
It's such a great, perfect message to end on. And Dave, thank you so much for finding your light and actually doing what you do, sharing such amazing stories, because I think there's so much in there for people to listen, to learn from and be touched by and understand that, like it's what goes on behind. That's the richness in life, and it's the stuff that we don't always see, but that is what makes this world go round. And thank you so much for continuing to share that with us and
that's
for
very
the
kind.
ones to come as well.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I've had fun. This is great fun.
Excellent.
I think we should do one thing.
Okay.
I think you should let me interview you.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do that. Let's give it a period of time.
Okay.
Let me get through this bit. I would
Yep.
love to interview you, but on your podcast.
Okay, I think that's a
Deal?
fantastic idea. It's a deal.
Done. Let's do that.
I love that. All right, you let me know when suits, and I'm up for it.
That'd be great, Jules. It's been really great fun. Thank you.